Right. So, season 6, second season with Matt Smith. What are the thoughts? Well, this is where it gets complicated. Season 1, good stuff. Well done, well executed, no big problems. Really excited for this season. And we started the season with The Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon. And everyone face-palmed. For multiple reasons. Right. What was the problems? As there were lots. First of all, they killed the Doctor and you're a bit like, huh? What about the next season that we know we want? They destroy the Silence. They do the whole of a season. They have an entire season, I mean, from episode 1 with the Prisoner Zero going, silence will fall. And then the Silence turn up and he kills them all. What? You know, one double effort and they just murder them all. And, anticlimax. I quite like the Silence monsters. They were quite fun. But then, you know, and then there's the Impossible Astronaut itself, who's the astronaut, who's the little girl, and then there's the face, and Amy with a child, and all of that nonsense, and it's, yeah, and it was just big and convoluted and messy, and I think everyone was a bit miffed at the end of that, the Doctor Who had finally come back and everyone was really excited, and what they got was quite mucky. I said at the time that it depends on whether they answer the questions well, on whether it's a good episode or double episode. No, they answered the questions quite well, but it's still crap. It's still not a fun episode. I didn't like it. Yeah, just messy. It was kind of fun. Some of the stuff they did were fun. As I say, I liked the Silence, but wasn't amazed. Curse of the Black Spot. Next episode. Yeah, I liked it. It was a good laugh. It was filler. It was literally just filler. Nothing important there. It was a pirate romp. I think I've heard some people say it, and it's very true. They could have done, you know, they have a pirate romp. They spend most of their time in a room with no scenery in it because they're hiding from shiny things. Nah, that's not that fun. Yeah, so, yeah, it was okay. It was a filler. We can't complain. And again, this is where they bring in the definite sort of continuing plot tease is the face, you know, the eye patch lady face. And I was really disappointed because I thought what they would do is the silence will fall, and they were going to have throughout sort of randomly them going and looking at themselves and seeing tally marks. That would have been really cool because then it would have felt like things were still happening. But no, Silence are forgotten about. The Doctor's Wife, written by Neil Gaiman, who should be put on the team of writers. I think everyone just freaked out over this. I know a lot of people liked it. Everyone enjoyed it. It was very, very funny. The idea was very good. But the Doctor Who fans, classic Doctor Who fans, nerdgasmed everywhere before the credits started. I mean, before the opening credits. It was amazing. They have, first thing first, the distress signal that turned up, the little white box, is out of a Patrick Troughton episode. It's out of, where is it? The War Games. Watch that. That has the cube in it. Basically, it's the last story of Patrick Troughton before he regenerates. And basically, they were going to can the series, and they decided until that point, the Doctor had literally been Doctor Who. Nobody knew who he was, nobody knew where he was from. He could have been from Earth, he could have been from somewhere else. Nobody knew. There were hints of his own people, and speak of his own people, but that could have just been us in the future. You'd never know. And they decided that they thought they were canning the series, so they decided that they'd write him what he is. And in the story, basically, he goes in over his head and has to call the Time Lords to come and help and blah blah blah. And the way he does it is he pulls out all these bits from his pocket and creates this cube that he then sends into space time. So they have the cubes back. Yay! You know, really, really nice to see that back. That's really cool. Then, as they follow the distress signal, they jettison a load of rooms from the TARDIS, which is done by Peter Davison in Castrovalva with the Zero Room. So that's two classic Doctor Who references from two very different periods of the Doctor Who lifespan before the opening credits. And then we get a Douglas Adams joke, or certainly a reference. When they're on the planet, he walks out and he goes, "Oh, what's the atmosphere like?" and throws a stone up in the air, and he's like, "Oh, it's all right. Smells a bit," which is a direct quote from Hitchhiker's Guide when they land on Magrathea, and it's like, "Oh, computer, run a atmosphere check on the area. It's all right, but it smells a bit." Exactly the same. It was brilliant. So, and then they have the whole thing with the Doctor's wife, and he writes some Doctor Who history, and he does very cleverly, because he doesn't write anything important. It's like the first thing he said when he entered the TARDIS. It's, you know, it's not important to the history books, but it's a big thing. It's just a little bit more. It's just nice. And it was nice to see, obviously, the Doctor and the TARDIS getting to have that chat they really needed to have. And obviously it was funny with her wandering around going, "Hello, I'm sexy," which was just funny. I didn't have a problem that it was very Tim Burton in the way that it was done. It's Neil Gaiman, of course it was going to be. They're very similar. Or at least in my opinion. They're both goths. Anything else to say? No, that's it really. That was probably the best episode of the entire series, in my opinion, though. Doctor's Wife, fangasm inducing episode. Brilliant. Then we come to the double ep, the Rebel Flesh and the Almost People. Meh. I kind of thought the acting in it was a bit crap, but I then watched the main ep and I found out the confidential and found out why, which is because they filmed this in the middle of a giant snowstorm and they were all freezing to death. So they were all acting really taut and really screwed up because they were trying desperately not to go which it makes the episode hilarious to watch back. But there we go. Basically, nothing really learned. It's another we've got to work together. Not everything that's different's a monster episode. There wasn't much to it. Obviously, the big thing on that was that they then find out that the Amy with them has been a flesh reproduction for a long time, and that Amy's actually been kidnapped and is in space with a child and blah. Yeah, they weren't that exciting episodes. Nothing terribly important in them to geek out about or complain about. And then we get A Good Man Goes to War. Obviously really fun that we have all different aliens and that joining in and having a fight. Very cleverly done. I like the fact that they say that River Song is Amy and Rory's child. Cool. The other thing, actually, probably the biggest geeky thing in this, is the Cybermen. They come in for all of about 2 minutes and steal the show, in my opinion, for one reason. They don't have the Cyberdyne logo on them anymore. They've just got a ring. We have the Cybermen back. Our Cybermen, the Mondas Cybermen, are back. No more of this parallel universe guff. We have our Cybermen back. I couldn't be happier. Because that's cool. Because I've been going, where are our Cybermen? I want the Mondas Cybermen back. The 10th planet, the first Cyberman story back, William Hartnell's last story, is probably my favourite Doctor Who episode of all time. So it's nice to have our Cybermen back for that reason. And they also do Rory. This is one of the things I was wanting to whinge about. Rory has been terribly miscast. Or miswritten, I think. Because in the first season he was a bit of a bumbling guy, you know, the guy who couldn't believe his luck that he got the hot girl that everyone was after, really. Even though she was a nutter. You know, and he couldn't believe his luck, and that's great, and that worked, and yeah, I said it was a bit like Mickey, but hey, well, at least it made sense. But then he became the Roman in the Pandorica episodes, and that all happened. Yeah, Rory became the Roman, and he remembers being the Roman. Very much so. You know, they do say, you know, he has flashes of it. 2,000 years of looking after a box. He is older than the Doctor, technically, and is military trained by some of the most powerful strategists in the world ever. And they made him a wuss again. They made him a wuss again. Why? Oh, and it annoys me. It just seems like completely point. What a waste of a point of character development. You know, this guy should be nailed, or insane, or both, or have reflex memory. You know, that he's himself and he doesn't really remember, but suddenly the shit hits the fan and he goes nuts, you know, and he suddenly goes, right, okay, you over there, you over there, you over there, barricade that door, here are the guns, shoot to kill, off we go. And they're all going, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be in charge. No, you're not, I am, let's go. That would be cool, but we don't get that. So we also get the whole thing going back to the Rebel Flash. He starts crushing on someone else. You looked after Amy for 2,000 years in a box. You can't go crushing over someone else. You are supposed to be that indefinitely in love with her. You know? It makes no sense. So, yeah. First part of the first season's quite messy. Rory's a shitty mess. That's the big problem. I don't like Rory. I think they've missed out on loads. They should have just said, can you remember anything of what happened? No. No, not really. And that would have maybe been okay, but they don't. They sort of go, oh, I remember bits of it. And it's like, well, use that. Do something with it. Don't be the same worthless waste of space you were in the first season when everyone was fucking happy you died. Because we were! We got rid of the prat. And then he came back as a Roman and that was cool. Because he knew what he was doing.